Sleeping Beauty. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, lived a benevolent king and queen who longed for a child. Their kingdom was prosperous, their people happy, but their hearts remained heavy with this single unfulfilled wish. They consulted wise men, offered prayers, and still, no child came. One warm summer's day, as the queen bathed in a secluded spring within the palace gardens, a magical frog appeared on a lily pad. "Your wish shall be granted, your majesty," croaked the frog. "Before the year is out, you shall have a daughter." True to the frog's prophecy, the queen soon conceived, and in due course, a beautiful baby girl was born. She had skin as white as snow, lips as red as a rose, and hair as black as ebony. The king and queen were overjoyed and named her Aurora for the dawn. To celebrate her birth, the king and queen held a magnificent feast, inviting all the fairies of the land to be godmothers to the princess. There were 12 good fairies, and each was invited to bestow a gift upon the infant princess. The kingdom rejoiced, and the palace was filled with laughter and merriment. Golden platters groaned under the weight of delicious food, musicians played joyous tunes, and colorful banners adorned every hall. As the fairies approached the cradle, one by one, they bestowed their magical blessings upon Princess Aurora. The first fairy gave her the gift of beauty, ensuring she would be the most lovely maiden in all the land. The second fairy granted her a melodious voice, so sweet that birds would stop to listen. The third bestowed grace, making her movements as elegant as a dancer's. The fourth gave her a kind heart, full of compassion and love. The fifth blessed her with intelligence, making her wise beyond her years. The sixth gave her a joyful spirit, so she would always find happiness. The seventh granted her musical talent, able to play any instrument. The eighth gave her a talent for dance, light as a feather. The ninth blessed her with wit, making her conversations sparkling and engaging. The 10th granted her patience, a virtue much needed in life. The 11th gave her generosity, always willing to share. However, just as the 12th good fairy was about to bestow her gift, a sudden gust of wind extinguished the candles, and the grand hall was plunged into a chilling silence. A terrifying presence filled the air, and through the now open palace doors strode an uninvited guest, Maleficent, the most wicked fairy in all the land. She had not been invited to the celebration, an oversight by the royal herald who believed her powers had waned. Her eyes glowed with malevolent green light, and a cruel smirk played on her lips. She carried a staff topped with a glowing orb, radiating dark magic. Well, Maleficent sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "A celebration for a princess, and not an invitation for me? How utterly charming." The king, though trembling, found his voice. "Forgive us, Maleficent. There must have been an oversight. Please join our feast and bestow your blessing upon our daughter." Maleficent merely laughed, a sound like dry leaves skittering across stone. "Oh, I shall bestow a gift indeed. A gift you shall never forget." She raised her staff, pointing its glowing tip at the innocent baby Aurora. "By the time the sun sets on her 16th birthday, the princess shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into a sleep like death." A collective gasp swept through the hall. The queen cried out, clutching her husband's arm, while the good fairies gasped in horror. Maleficent cackled, satisfied with the terror she had wrought, and vanished in a puff of green smoke. The king and queen were devastated. They looked at their beautiful baby, tears streaming down their faces. But then, the 12th good fairy, who had not yet given her gift, stepped forward. Her face was grim, but a spark of hope was in her eyes. "I cannot undo the curse entirely," she said sadly, "for Maleficent's magic is too strong. But I can soften it. Instead of a sleep like death, the princess shall fall into a deep slumber that will last for 100 years. And this sleep can only be broken by true love's kiss." The king, in his desperation to protect his daughter, immediately issued a royal decree. Every spinning wheel in the kingdom was to be gathered and burned. Pyres were lit in every village square, and countless spinning wheels were reduced to ashes, all in an attempt to thwart Maleficent's terrible prophecy. As years passed, Princess Aurora grew into a lovely young woman, just as the fairies had predicted. She was beautiful, graceful, kind, intelligent, and joyful. She loved to sing and dance, and her laughter was like the chime of silver bells. The king and queen, though they never spoke of the curse, watched her with a lingering fear in their hearts as her 16th birthday approached. To further protect her, on the eve of her 16th birthday, the king and queen decided to send Aurora away to live in a secluded cottage deep in the forest, accompanied only by the 3 good fairies, disguised as peasant women, who would watch over her until the fateful day had passed. They hoped that away from the palace, away from prying eyes, Maleficent would never find her. Aurora, unaware of the curse, believed she was simply going on a quiet holiday. One day, as her 16th birthday dawned, the 3 fairies went into the village to gather provisions, leaving Aurora alone at the cottage. Aurora, feeling a strange curiosity, began to explore the hidden nooks and crannies of the small dwelling. In a forgotten corner of the attic, behind a tapestry, she discovered a narrow, winding staircase. Filled with an inexplicable urge, she climbed it. At the top, she found a small, dusty room. In the center stood an old woman, bent over a peculiar device. It was a spinning wheel, untouched by the king's decree, hidden away in this forgotten part of the cottage. The old woman, who was none other than Maleficent in disguise, looked up with a wicked grin. "What is that, good woman?" Aurora asked, her voice filled with childlike wonder. She had never seen such a thing before. "It is a spinning wheel, my dear," Maleficent rasped. "And would you like to try it?" "It's very simple." Aurora, innocent and curious, reached out her hand. The moment her finger brushed the sharp point of the spindle, she felt a sudden prick. A wave of dizziness washed over her, and her eyes fluttered closed. She swayed for a moment, then fell into a deep, silent slumber. Maleficent let out a triumphant cackle, her disguise dissolving as green smoke swirled around her. "Fools! You cannot escape my power!" She vanished, leaving the sleeping princess alone. When the 3 good fairies returned and found Aurora, their hearts broke. Their magic had failed to protect her. Weeping, they carried her down to her bed and laid her gently upon it. The good fairies knew that when Aurora eventually awoke, she would be alone in a desolate castle. So, using their remaining magic, they cast a powerful spell over the entire kingdom. As Princess Aurora slept, so too did everyone and everything else in the palace and the surrounding lands. The king and queen fell asleep on their thrones, the courtiers slumped at their tables, the guards leaned against their posts, the horses slumbered in their stalls, and even the fires in the hearths dwindled to a perpetual ember. A thick, impenetrable forest of thorny roses, enchanted with Maleficent's residual dark magic, grew up around the castle, shielding it from the outside world and deterring any who might dare approach. 100 years passed. Generations came and went. The story of the sleeping princess became a legend, a whispered tale of a beautiful maiden cursed by an evil fairy, sleeping in a forgotten castle surrounded by an impassable thorny hedge. Many brave princes and knights attempted to penetrate the thorny forest, drawn by the legend, but none ever succeeded. The thorns would entangle them, and the dark magic would turn them back or consume them. Then, one day, a young and courageous prince, named Philip, heard the ancient tale. He was known for his valiant heart and his unwavering belief in destiny. Unlike others, he did not seek treasure or glory, but felt an inexplicable pull towards the enchanted castle. He gathered his courage, armed himself with a keen sword, and set out towards the fabled thorny forest. As he approached, he saw the formidable wall of thorns, taller than any fortress, thick and gnarled. But just as he was about to try and force his way through, a strange phenomenon occurred. It was Aurora's 100th birthday, and the enchantment was momentarily weakening. The good fairies had ensured that at this precise moment, the path would open for the destined true love. As Philip watched in awe, the thorny roses began to part, revealing a narrow, winding path that led directly to the castle gates. Philip, his heart pounding, pressed onward. He entered the castle, a place where time had stood still for a century. He walked through silent halls, past sleeping guards covered in centuries of dust, past courtiers frozen in mid-gesture. He saw the sleeping king and queen on their thrones, their faces serene. Everything was shrouded in an ancient quiet. He followed an unseen intuition, ascending winding staircases, until he came to a chamber bathed in a soft, ethereal light. There, on a magnificent bed draped with cobwebbed silks, lay the most beautiful maiden he had ever seen. It was Princess Aurora. Her skin was still as white as snow, her lips as red as a rose, and her black hair fanned out on the pillow. Philip was instantly captivated. He knelt beside her bed, his heart filled with a love he had never known. He gazed at her face, feeling an undeniable connection. Recalling the legend, he knew what he must do. Gently, he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. The moment their lips met, a powerful magic surged through the castle. Aurora's eyes fluttered open. A soft sigh escaped her lips as she awoke from her century-long sleep. Her gaze met Philip's, and in that instant, she knew him, knew that he was the one destined to break the curse. As Aurora awoke, so too did everyone else in the castle and the kingdom. The king and queen stirred, the courtiers stretched, the guards blinked, and the fires in the hearths roared back to life. The thorns around the castle withered completely, crumbling to dust and revealing the vibrant kingdom that lay beyond. The world, which had been frozen in time, burst back into glorious life. Princess Aurora and Prince Philip descended to the great hall, where the joyous cries of the awakened kingdom filled the air. The king and queen, overjoyed to see their daughter awake and beside such a noble prince, immediately gave their blessing. A grand wedding was arranged, a celebration even more magnificent than the one held for Aurora's birth. Princess Aurora and Prince Philip were married amidst great fanfare and happiness. They ruled the kingdom wisely and kindly, bringing prosperity and joy to their people. And they lived happily ever after, a testament to the enduring power of true love. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe the channel and like the video. Thank you.